Hello everyone, welcome to World Monologue Games. You are watching Endurance Earth. This is the endurance category for the regional live stream events here at World Monologue Games. And you're watching South Asia, the Americas, the Middle East and Africa here in Endurance Earth. World Monologue Games is a new event that's been started in response to COVID. It exists to create opportunities for actors who, unfortunately, during these challenging times, there's just not much work available. So the film industry's been basically shut down, and live entertainment is pretty much not happening anywhere in the world. So I wanted to create an event that gave people the opportunity to still do their stuff and get in front of an audience. The endurance category is a 5 to 10 minute performance. Now, what's really interesting about this is that monologues tend to be quite short, and actors use them to try to get work. So they use them for auditions, for self-tapes when they're submitting for film and television opportunities, or live for a theatre show. Whereas a 5 to 10 minute monologue is a piece of entertainment in its own right. It's just something that is made to be watched and enjoyed. It's not there as a job interview. So I hope you enjoy the endurance category. I'm not sure I introduced myself. My name is Pete Malicki. I'm the founder of World Monologue Games and the Monologue Project. Sorry if I already said that. I know I've only been on for 10 seconds, but this is our third event this weekend, so I'm having Groundhog Day. Let me just say a few more things before I hand over to our amazing performers. So as part of the event, we wanted to make it as accessible as possible. So we have given everybody in the world the opportunity to participate, and we made it free, and we are de-emphasizing technology. So if you have a mobile phone and an internet connection, you can participate. And it's not about the camera, the audio quality. It's really just about the performance. I mean, obviously it needs to be good enough that it's watchable, but yeah, really the emphasis is on the acting. So as our audience tonight, you get to vote. You get to help put through one of these performers into our global finals. Now, the way this works is we have judges and audiences watching every show. If you're watching this live or within 48 hours, you will get to vote. I will publish a link at the end of the show, and you click on that and vote for your two favorites. The judges and the audience favorite from this show will go through to our global finals, along with the previous two shows. We had Endurance Europe a few hours ago and Endurance Australia and New Zealand yesterday. So the two best from these events will go through to the finals. Now, there might be some strong language tonight, or this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever time it is for you. I'm in Sydney, Australia. It's very close to midnight. There'll be some strong language. There might be some adult themes, some heavy content perhaps. So please be warned if you're sensitive to anything that might be coming. We also have not told actors what language they need to perform in. Not everyone will be performing in English. So I hope you get to enjoy some non-English performances tonight. You can send a comment in the live chat if you're watching right now, or if you're watching later, you can leave a comment for the actors. They will see this, they'll come and have a look. So please, if you enjoy someone, say some nice words. That'd be really good. They'll appreciate that. You can also subscribe to this channel to get kept up to date, or you can join our mailing list. There's a link to our website in the description below. And send a like if you're watching this video live or replay. Please pop in a like. That helps more people see it, and our fantastic actors get more exposure. What else do I need to say? You might see the same actor performing more than one piece. That's because they got through more than once. And you might see the same script being performed more than once, and that's because actors get to choose whatever it is that they want. Actors get to pick their own country, whether that's the country that they live in or their country of origin. Whatever they most identified with, we let them make that choice. I'm going to come back at the end of the event and talk a little bit more about the judging, but for now, please enjoy Endurance Earth, South Asia, the Americas, the Middle East, and Africa.
by sending him to jail. The man who wanted to husband Bella took his
We're on a bunch of people talking about the people and I hand them back and take their money.
Into the next decade.
Akashli. But if it's societal norm to shorten it, then Kashi is fine. Let me tell you a little about myself. Mum died when I was 11. Breast cancer. Apparently I was too young to go to a funeral. Dad and sisters raised me. I acted up. I regret that now. But eventually I did a double degree at the uni in business and economics, where I met Chrissy. She was in the same course and we did the share house thing. Many girls came and left, but Chrissy and I stuck together. I worked hard and partied hard too at times, but eventually I finished and threw in a master's for good measure. That's where I met Paul. He was a business manager already working in the telecommunications. He was back at the uni to upgrade his qualifications. He was smart, funny, and I must admit I was smitten from the start. It was a long time before we went on our first date though. It was a long, slow burn. For our first date, Paul took me to this really romantic restaurant called the Purple Velvet. It was so romantic. It was dimly lit, with the only light coming out was from the candles on the low dark tables. Beautiful black satin sheets divided the diners. The food was amazing and the dessert exquisite. I had the deconstructed lemon tart, which was the best I'd ever tasted. We talked for hours. And by the end of the night, we knew everything about each other. About our family, career aspirations, dreams, everything. What hooked me was the way he looked at me. He seemed captivated, yes, by everything about me. He met my family. They all loved him. Even Dad approved. By the end of our studies, Paul proposed. I cried. I said yes, obviously. Then he cried. It was all blubberingly beautiful and so romantic. He bought me the biggest rock I'd ever seen. He wanted to get married straight after graduation. He got another promotion and bought a house. The wedding day was magnificent. Paul was an only child and his parents lived in Australia, but they flew down for the wedding. Dad walked me down the aisle. He gave a heartwarming speech saying Mum would have been proud of me. I danced with him with a tear in his eye. He gave me a kiss on my cheek. Paul and I flew to the Maldives for a luxury honeymoon. First couple of days were bliss. Everything was romantic and wonderful. We took a lovely cruise and we went diving, saw rays and reef sharks. It was all fantastic. On our second night there was this one restaurant called Tava something. We had teppanyaki there. It was to die for. The next day, we decided for a stroll on the beach. I got into my swimmers and Paul told me I shouldn't wear that. When I asked him why, he said I looked like a pig. Like I turned into what I'd wolfed down for dinner the night before. When I didn't say anything for a few seconds, he told me I should get changed. That he had been embarrassed once when we went diving and he wouldn't be embarrassed again. That was the moment. I know that now. I should have walked out that door and never turned back. I often wonder how my life would have turned out if I had. But instead, foolishly, I got changed. On our last night there, I saw lemon tart on the menu. I thought I caught a glint of disapproval in his eye when I ordered it. But I dismissed it. When we got back to our room, Paul closed the door behind us and said Kashi so gently I almost didn't hear him. When I turned smiling, he spat my face. He pushed me against the wall and said, I don't need or deserve dessert ever. Things got worse when we got back home. First, I didn't need a job. He was earning enough for both of us. Chrissy posted on Facebook that she had secured a great job. Then he sold the second car so that I wouldn't leave the house without him. He ordered me not to speak to Chrissy ever again. When I asked him why, he slapped me in the face. He took away my mobile phone and closed down all my social media accounts. Not long after, one of my sisters had a second kid. I wanted kids. I thought that would bring Paul back to the man he was when I first met him. When I asked him about it, he said I didn't need something else to make me fat. I asked him if he would ever change his mind in the future. He punched me in the stomach. I was lost. I withdrew. Then, Dad died peacefully in his sleep. I hung up the home phone and I slid down that wall. That's how Paul found me. When he returned home hours later, all balled up and crying. You know what he did? He told me to get him a beer. When I didn't get up straight away, he yelled at me to do it. Numb and trembling, I got up. I took the beer and went into the lounge room where he was already seated. Holding it, standing next to his chair, I told him my dad had died. He was watching the news. He didn't even look up at me. He just said, "You aren't going to the funeral." I don't remember what happened next. The police told me what happened next. I saw the photos. I heard all about it at the trial. Guess I have a long time now to remember. Or at least the judge let me go to my dad's funeral.
You're here today because of a promise, the attainment of wisdom, enlightenment with a capital E. And I'm really honored that you guys chose to spend your hard-earned $125 and give up a perfectly good Saturday to be here to learn from what I have to offer in that department. And it's because I respect that I can't bullshit you now. I won't. This is a matter of life and death. We swim in a vast sea of knowledge, wouldn't you agree? And while some of it is true, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And even when you start at the very truth, there are invisible forces at play, working behind the scenes to lead you away from the facts and into this abyss, this illusion. It's a labyrinth. You know, a famous author once wrote that kindness is the beginning of cruelty. Look, our parents, several years ago, right? Even with thousands of dollars, they couldn't access even a fraction of the information that we all have available at our fingertips for free today via the internet, like on YouTube and Wikipedia. But it isn't really free, you guys. No, we pay. We pay with our attention, and we pay with our willingness to believe. And if you go deep, deep down that rabbit hole just enough, what you're going to find are hidden algorithms at play. And they are working to expose you to even more and more provocative content. What happens is soon you find yourself becoming less rational and more inflamed. Rarely does it work the other way, just by default. You know what? This is intentional. We are all, by the very design of this machinery called the Homo sapien, we are built to focus our attention on novelty. Look, the shiny thing, right? Got your attention. Well, our ape ancestors' brains developed the way they did because they picked shiny, round, colorful objects off of trees. We call them apples today. And they ate them. And they were crispy, and they were sweet, and they were good, and they couldn't get enough. So they kept eating and eating and eating. And what happened is that the sugars from the apples, they triggered a cascade of chemical responses in the brain. And new thoughts started becoming possible for them. Now, a similar and even more powerful process happened when they picked these mushrooms that they found in animal scat. I know it sounds gross, but it's what happened. See, one day, the tribe was just walking along, looking for food and hoping that the big old cats would stay away from them. And lo and behold, they find these mushrooms. And there were tons of them, so everyone got to eat, right? Snack time for everyone. And then an hour goes by, and suddenly, bam! Oh, sorry. Well, they were tripping their balls off. I mean, the world exploded in color and energy. And they felt these incredible body sensations coursing through them. And what happened is the brain started processing input at higher levels than ever before. So you know what? Now suppose if that hungry lion came along, guess what? Well, you'd be less afraid, and you'd be more likely to match that hungry aggression with stoic determination. Your muscles were able to grab and draw upon reserves of increased energy, and that would help sustain you during the ensuing battle, right? And as a group, y'all would be more alert and more attuned to body language cues, which enabled you to defend as a cohesive unit. You see, the human brain evolved like it did because it sought out novelty, and it was rewarded by doing that. And the reward was higher levels of energy and intelligence. But now we're in the 21st century, right? You know what's happening? That knowledge is being used against us by our very own kind. See, we have come to this point where we can build new machinery to prey upon the old machinery that we created. Ironic? Paradoxical? Maybe inevitable. See, some really smart but really unscrupulous folks, they figured out that if you inundate the population with addictive games and provocative messages, and if you produce these short videos with catchy music and you shone the spotlight on these loud, charismatic celebrities, then you can coax people into believing almost anything, even when it's objectively not true. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome you to the digital dark ages. And so I won't bullshit you anymore. This is grim times for seekers of wisdom and truth, you know? And how do I know this? Well, precisely by the fact that you're here today. Yep. You see, what I did is I hired a really skilled marketing copywriter, and they put words that would excite you on a web page. They excited that monkey brain of yours, and they made you believe that you could be special. All you had to do is pay $125 and give up a Saturday to attend a class taught by a wise old woman. Surprise! Well, see, the thing is that you thought you'd emerge from this class with this new insight, and these insights would free you from your mundane existence. You would leave here with power that nobody else had, right? Well, unless they too paid that same $125, of course. You're here because I took advantage of your brain's novelty-seeking mechanism. Are you angry? You should be. Look, I said I wasn't going to bullshit you, and this is what not being bullshitted looks like. You see, the other side of that novelty-seeking part of the brain, it doesn't like being told that it's nothing more than a set of primitive impulses cloaked in lofty ideals. But that's what we do, you know. We lie to ourselves about who we are. We tell our stories about ourselves, to ourselves, about who we want to be instead of who we really are. Because if you didn't, we would see that we're still these atavistic gorillas, these apes, and we're walking through the world looking for shiny objects and sweet food and things to get us high. You know, you might label yourself a loving wife or a successful doctor or a caring parent. But down below all those meaningless words, we're animals that just want to fucking eat. Hey, if that bothers you, it's because you're built that way. We all are, you guys. We're not supposed to see the ridiculous gnome behind the curtain, okay? We're only supposed to see the wise and powerful wizard on the golden screen. Oh, sorry. It's just too much for some people to handle, really. But I do have some good news, though, because even though we start at the very fundamental level of these mindless apes, we don't have to end up there. Through millions of years of evolution, our brains, the self-deceiving louts that they are, they also developed the neocortex, which I like to call the proverbial double-edged sword. It's the part of the brain that spins these grandiose stories that allows us to puff up our identities. But it's also the part of us that gives us introspection. It's when you start to move away from the egos and inward towards introspection, that's when you actually can start making real progress in becoming enlightened. But it only starts by first acknowledging how truly unenlightened we really are, okay? We are utterly base and savage. Because you know what? If you try to take that apple from that hungry ape, they will rip your fucking face off. Once you accept that's who you really are, well, maybe you might actually start to believe that $125 and a really nice Saturday were a very good investment after all. It's one that will pay off by giving you a chance at, well, achieving real liberation through all of this information I'm giving you. And you will be free from your mundane existence.
How are you today, sir? Just these? My name's Corinne. I'm a cashier at Kohl's. A checkout operator. People hand things to me, and I hand them back and take their money. Do you have flybys? $15.60. Thanks. My name's Corinne, and this is my 13th minimum wage job. I say hello and scan groceries. $4.40 change. Have a nice day. And yeah, I know it. Straight away you're looking down on me. Dumb bitch should have gone to university or even TIFE and got herself a real job. What's a 32-year-old doing working at Kohl's? How are you, ma'am? At university, they'd tell me I have low SCS. They'd say I'm statistically unlikely to change my socioeconomic status due to my income, education, and occupation. And I have a kid, so that's about all there is to it. $82, please. Hey, I dodged a bullet, if you ask me. I should be fucking fat like Sherry over there. Do you have a 2 by any chance? Thank you. Truth is, I have climbed to the top. Job 1 was at the butcher's. I got $12.20 an hour to clean guts and bones off perspex when I wasn't selling red-faced men and their pram-pushing wives steak and sausages. Enjoy your lamb shanks. You think that's better than this cushy job? I tell ya, this is the upper management of the service industry. If you can hear that voice over there, it's the Kohl's robot bitch that took 5 of our jobs. They brought in the self-checkout machines a year ago, or as we call them here, the free fruit machines. You see, you put your fruit and veg straight into your bags. Sorry? I gave you $7.80, ma'am. It cost $12.20 and you gave me a $20. I'm certain, ma'am. It says how much change to give you on your receipt. Sorry, posh bitch can't count. You put your fruit and veg straight into your bags and walk away, and no one knows you've nicked it. Still costs them less than 5 wages, though, so they don't much care. And that's the problem with the minimum wage circuit. We're all just robots being phased out by robots. I'm not just talking about the scanning and giving of change. I mean the whole thing. We have a script, for Christ's sakes. My name is Corinne, and I'll be your Subway sandwich artist today. Would you like wholemeal, 5-grain, cheese, or Italian herbs? Everything we say to you is word for word off the script, and small talk beyond "how was your day" is rarer than a customer who tips. My conversations aren't much broader than the ones had by that electronic piece of shit over there. This was $4.65 and not $4.80. You reckon? One moment, please. Price check on Red Bull Twin Pack. Price check on Red Bull Twin Pack. You know, it's amazing how much you can tell about someone in the 1 minute it takes for them to pass through my checkout. This guy here is into porn and video games. No one else buys nothing but energy drinks. You can tell if someone's married, has kids. You can tell their income from their brand choices. How smart they are. How good they are at maths. Sherry reckons it's meant to be $4.80. Maybe you looked at the wrong price tag? You can tell half these women don't get fucked near as often as they want. Most people think they're better than people like me, but I can see everything that's wrong with their lives in a second. Only difference is they get paid triple what I do to hate their jobs. A few years ago, I hated what I was doing much more than I do now. Job 4 was delivering flyers in the suburbs. Worked out to be 4 cents per house. Dogs chased me, and it rained all the fucking time, and those hardcore metal letterbox flaps that were impossible to cram flyers past. Job 7 was the bakery. Didn't get paid extra, but starting at 4 a.m., and the prick of a franchise owner fired me for taking a bag of old bread from the skip. Next stop, Macus. Would you like fries with your unfair dismissal? Point is, I did a lot of shitty jobs, and it hasn't been any better than Kohl's. Only place I can go from here is Aldi. Those foreign bastards get to sit all day, and their scanners are a total business. They're the checkout princes, and they know it. Welcome to Aldi. My name's Corinne. I finish in 10 minutes, but I'm not grumpy because my feet are killing me. You want a plastic bag for that bag of bread? You'll actually have to pay for one. Here I am at the peak of the low SES world, worrying about another redundancy. I have it made here. 30 to 40 hours a week. $5 per hour over minimum wage. Decent manager. Close to home. Always knows the specials. The free fruit machine doesn't have a kid to feed or a lazy husband to cook for when it gets home. It doesn't have to feel bad about being a robot because that's exactly what it is. Cigarettes at checkout for only, sir. Well, there's no point yelling at me. I didn't design the store layout. Go and fuck myself? Have a nice day. Why is it store policy never to swear at a customer? Guys like this angry bogan here get to say whatever they want to me and I have to hold my tongue. As cool as my manager is, he'd have me out on my ass if I dished out what was dished to me. Cigarettes at checkout for, and why don't you take them home and stick one up your de facto wife's cunt so she gets to feel something bigger than a matchstick up there. Have a nice day. Those thin-lipped Weight Watchers, Woman's Weekly cows that sneer at you when you ask them how they're doing. You know what, ma'am? Why don't you take that attitude home to your husband and call me from the emergency room after he slaps your ugly face in? We need to learn to speak our minds before progress takes our livelihoods. Let's see what we damn well mean for a change. Here's your burger, cutie. Would you like to come on my face with that? There's no sticky date pudding left because the manager's a fucking idiot and didn't stock enough. But if you're so totally desperate you're going to kick up such a fuss about it, I could go out back, scrape some shit off the toilet bowl for you. Might go nicely with all those assholes you licked today before you came here to pick on the wait staff. And you, ma'am, you need to realize that Diet Coke isn't going to make a difference to that humongous ass of yours. If you don't want to be so fucking fat, run around the block a few times and stop drinking Coke. But you look at that, I got myself all worked up. I guess it bothers me that it's only a matter of time until they give my job to a machine. It isn't faster than me. It isn't any better or worse. That automated checkout station is no different to a human cashier. Do they really have to wipe out thousands of jobs so people with shit, miserable lives like mine can go back to the bottom of the bottom? Those bastards could afford to keep us, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's pocket money to them. Keeping us is pocket money. Well, my shift's over, so I'm gonna head home and cook. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm happy enough to be standing at the top of the bottom. I hope you enjoy your evening, sir, ma'am. Thank you for shopping at Kohl's.
Glad that you're awake, Johnny.
You don't look too well, though. Is it the headache? Well, aside from that, you're going to feel 2 stings in your neck. That's because I had to inject you twice. One to wake you up, and the other one, well, this one. This is going to prevent you from going into shock. It's not a painkiller now. It doesn't have the sedative to be a painkiller. And it was designed by the Nazis, so obviously not for medical reasons. Don't try to talk, I take your face. You're not here to talk. You're here to listen to me. Because that's one of your issues, Johnny. So you're going to listen to me, and after that, well, you're going to scream a lot. So I don't want you to ruin this experience by talking. But I can guess that you have questions like, where am I? How did I get here? Well, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you can scream for hours and no one will come to save you. How did you get here? Well, I came up to your house, killed all of your men, and kidnapped you here. And pray and thank to whatever God that you pray to, because fortunately your family wasn't there. I would have gladly brought them along with me. Because that's sort of a man I am right now. That's what you turned me into. And I'd like to state for the record that you could have avoided all of this. When you came to my office to tell me to drop Frank's murder case, I told you to fuck off. But you stayed. You kept persisting. So I warned you. Sorry, to be exact, I threatened you. If you try to do anything to me, then I'll put a bullet in your head. And you try to get to me by getting to my friends, I'll tear your tongue out and let you drown in your own blood. Even after hearing all of that, you did something stupid. You tried to kidnap the girl that works in my office. That then and there you made me realize now that I need a third threat. Because I have fallen in love, Johnny. And it was that same girl that you tried to kidnap. And I realized that I was in love when they tried to kidnap her. Fortunately, I was there to stop it, of course, but things happens to me all the time. So this time I was ready, because the last time when my friend was in that same situation, I was kind of caught off guard. But this time I was ready, but what I wasn't ready for is the emotional trauma that I had to experience. Now, seeing my friends in that situation is the hardest thing that I had to experience, but seeing her in that, even though that I was there to stop it, even the thought of she getting hurt, the amount of worry, the fear, the pain that I had to go through was like nothing that I've experienced before, and I know pain. I was tortured once. When I was in this Black Ops, I was captured and I was tortured. And I thought nothing can top that, but you did it. And I saw her in that state. That's when I realized that I care about her more than anything else in this world, and it has to be love. Because I care about her more than myself. I care about her more than my friends. I never thought that I was capable of that emotion, me being in love. Because I never wanted to be that vulnerable, but I am that vulnerable right now. And because of that, I need a third threat, so that scumbags like you won't even think about harming her. But what would I do, Johnny? What can I do? If you mess with me, I'll put a bullet in your head. If you try to mess with my friends, I'll try to tear your tongue out and let you drown in your own blood. But what can I do to those who tries to hurt my beloved? You know, tearing your tongue out would be enough, but I think that's what you would say, and most people agree with that, but I don't. Because when I saw your men, your thugs, try to drag her away like a drag doll, my blood literally boiled. And it's still boiling. And I need to do something that will make that feeling go away. So I had to put a lot of thought into this. So what I've come up with is that I'm going to cut your balls and I'm going to feed them to you. And while you're choking on them, I'm going to open up that chest and I'm going to reach in and tear that motherfucking heart out. And see if that stops my feeling joy. See, you haven't peed your pants or passed out, so I'm guessing the drug is working. So that means we can begin. But don't worry, I won't go to the main course just yet. Let's start with something small, and then we'll go way up to the lower. Let's start. So what shall we do, Johnny? What shall we start with? How about we put a tiny little scratch on that skull of yours? And let's start with that and work our way up to the main course. And before we begin, that I have to say one last thing is that I've read somewhere that love has the power to turn people into better people. But unfortunately, it also has the power to turn people into monsters. And I was already a fucking monster, Johnny, to men like you. And love is turning me into more vicious, because I have to be that way to protect her. So I'm guessing it's not a happier future waits for me, but love has a price, and this is mine. I have to be more vicious for her. So let's start. Let's start with a tiny little scratch on that forehead, so we can see what's inside that stupid head.
Hey pal, I think we have the wrong room here. Are you sure? No, but he's just... Alright. Hi. Are you all of India? You are all of India. It's just you. No offense, but you look like a late 20s bachelor kind of a guy. I'm sorry, what? You are? You're 27 and single. Wow. Okay, I'm told that you've been having some issues of late, so I thank you for your time and thank you for coming here. Lucky me, I've been chosen to talk some sense into you. I won't take long though. Man, I actually thought you'd be older. Like an old wise man. Or woman, because that's what we expect with India, Old and well and wise. I can't believe you're a 27-year-old single man. You survived. Okay, let's get started. You might not like this man, but what are you doing? No, seriously, what are you doing? You can't keep on having so many babies. You're going to explode. Not the kind of explode you like so much. I mean, you are going to collapse into your own self. You, sir, will implode. The numbers, they don't lie. It's 1.3 billion. And counting. What in the world are you doing? Use your goddamn protection. You have to take some responsibility. Just can't go on so many days, buddy. For someone who comes from a cultured background, such rich legacy. And to make matters worse, do you realize that you've started smelling? Yeah, granted, you were never the most hygienic man in the room, but you never smelled like garbage. It was never so bad that people wrote blogs about you. There's no harm in learning some things from some of your friends in the East. Speaking of friends, do you remember that friend of yours, that childhood buddy of yours who you grew up with, but now you're not so friendly anymore? You know what I'm talking about. Do you really want to be like him in his earlier days? Always asking Uncle Sam or others to just bail him out. That buddy, he didn't even know that he's got the most wanted man in the world hanging out at his crib. Uncle Sam had to show him. Man, India, you have way too much potential to let yourself go astray like that. You used to be so bright in college, man. You were the only guy to reach Mars in its first attempt. Its first. Russia, he took like 7. Yeah, the vodka drinking genius. But he's loaded and he started his journey way before you, so you should be proud. You discovered and then confirmed that there were water molecules in the moon's lunar soil. I mean, what? That was you, bro. That was you. You wrote epics and poetry and stories. Do you remember the story that you wrote about the cousins who fought the Great War? The Mahabharata? Did you just forget you wrote Mahabharata? It was philosophical, devotional, spiritual, the longest epic poem known to man, written in verse. And now what do we have? Golmaal 4. Seriously, bro. Seriously. Nah. Look at me, just look at me. You have made a joke of yourself. You just copy stuff now. You were the land of literary gods, big people, titans. Every few strides, languages change. Every few strides, culture changes. Cuisine changes. You have your own script. But now it all feels the same. Sounds the same. It's all noise. Man, just go back to writing epics. Or remember how much you loved math. You could still pursue that, you know. Remember zero? You remember that? That was some sick shit, bro. You changed everything, I'll tell you. I know no one gives you credit for it, but I know you invented Kung Fu. I know that. I know someone up there takes up all the credit for it, but I know it was you. I also know that you've done a much better job with his food. Let's face it. Indian, Chinese. It's the bomb. It's such a lip-smacking amalgamation of food. You're a master chef. You're actually a master chef. Any girl would actually be lucky to have you, you know. You just need to spruce up a bit. Improve that order of yours. Sleep on time. You're making noise at 3 a.m., bro. Outside a hospital? Come on. Just learn some things from Denmark. I know that bit is boring, but how are you just surviving in that chaos? of yours. How do you not have a headache? I mean, it's pretty impressive, but screw that. You used to be calm and spiritual and philosophical back in the day, buddy. Don't you believe that some things ought to be sacred? That not everything can be moved on. Most of all, you move on too quickly. People come, blow you up, and you move on. You keep begging that childhood friend of yours to make it right, but nothing comes out of it. Nothing. Stop competing with him. Stop competing with him. Stop asking him for stuff. India, you have become so indifferent that you don't even care what you want. You let too much get away and you talk way too much. You also play too much cricket. There are other sports, you know. I'm just saying, man, you have my respect. You always will. But don't take that stuff for granted. I know about Britain. I know that. I know she broke your heart. She made friends with you and it sucks. And she wouldn't leave. But she did that with everyone, dude. And I know you're responding with your hardline, hyper-nationalistic nonsense because your pride is hurt. I know, I get it. But you've got what none of them have. You have the future. You're younger, brighter, hungrier, and virtuous than at least most of them. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up with your fanatic aggression. Aggression is a good thing. It's a good thing, like your Indian cricket team captain. But only where it matters. Not self-inflicted, attention-seeking aggression. Change. It's time to move on. It's time to grow up. It's time to unite for a change. It's time to make some nice kashish for a change. It's time to perhaps have a family. But India needs to change.
Now that we're all here, because we lost something, and we hope to find it. You know that we're all here because something is wrong. Some of us hope to find peace. Some of us love. And some of us control. Maybe. But we all lost something. We all lost something. And we hope that being here will help us find it. It was so many years ago. It happened so many years ago. But I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a child. I was just a child. Somebody should have been there. Somebody should have protected me. Somebody should have fought for me. But no one came. No one came. I screamed. I cried. I fought. I really fought. I tried. Maybe I should have fought harder. I don't know. I really don't know. It took from me. It took my whole being. I felt so powerless. I felt so helpless. He made me feel like I was nothing. Like I was nothing. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't. I was scared. What if no one believed me? What if they thought it was my fault? So I kept quiet. I kept quiet. I was dying inside. I was dying every day. So I learned to smile. I learned to pretend. I would pretend that everything was okay. But deep down inside, I knew I was dead. I knew I was dead. I kept quiet until one day I couldn't take it anymore. So I talked. Told someone. They told me I was going to be okay. They said it was going to get better. They told me I had to be strong. Hell, I had been strong. I had been strong all on my own. But it wasn't enough. Apparently it wasn't enough. They said I was going to be okay. So I believed them. But I couldn't forget. I did not forget. I learned to live with it. I learned to accept it. And I made a vow to myself. I made a vow that I was never, ever going to allow anybody to make me feel like that again. Never. And I prayed too. I prayed that I never have to go through that again. Prayed. I prayed that I never have to go through that again, but I was wrong. It didn't work. It didn't work. I was wrong because it happened again. It happened again. They were wrong. They said I was going to be okay. They said I was going to get better, but they were wrong. And again, no one came. Nobody came. I fought. I screamed. I cried. I fought harder. This time, I really did. I fought harder. But it didn't work. He ruined me. I am ruined. I am ruined. I'm not okay. I am not okay. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be okay again. I don't know. I don't know if any of us ever going to be okay again. I'm not strong. Can't be strong, not this time. This time I am weak. I am weak. I don't want to be strong. But I have hope. I have hope. Hope that I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to get better. And I'm going to hold on to that hope. We should all hold on to that hope. It will be okay. All going to be okay. Right? Right, we're all going to be okay.
I never knew my mum. She died of obstetrical hemorrhage when I was born. Severe bleeding. She lived long enough to hold me in her arms, look me in the eyes and say, Sam. Dad said the very last moment of her life was the happiest one, so at least she went out on a high. Dad was a drug addict when I was born. I only lived with him for a few months before they shipped me into foster care. The first people that had me were arrested for kidnapping a child in the 80s. I was sent to an elderly couple and I'm pretty sure they were the best parents I ever had, although they didn't last long. Enid passed away in her sleep when I was 18 months and Rex died of a broken heart soon after. I was sent to an upper class couple after that and lived with Carlos and Anastasia for 8 years. Anastasia hated me from the get-go, all because Spot, her bunny rabbit, died of shock the day I arrived. It's hardly a toddler's fault that rabbits have zero constitution. All the same, I was scorned by her for half my childhood. Technically, I think I was raised by Nintendo. My first words were Donkey Kong. I was homeschooled for those 8 years, and when I was 7, I'm pretty sure I topped the state in The Legend of Zelda. Carlos was an even worse parent than the Game Boy. He'd come to my room once a week, stand awkwardly in the doorway, and after a while he'd pat me on the head and run off like I was an old acquaintance he didn't want to talk to. Before I turned 10, Dad convinced the courts that he was off drugs and got custody of me. He was excited. I was put on a train to Arcadia Station where Dad met me with a Labrador puppy named Lucky. Lucky was so happy to meet me, his new best friend, that he leapt right on top of me as soon as I arrived. Except I was still on a moving train and the poor thing got minced. It was a fairly mixed reunion. A few days after moving into Dad's pokey flat and he started to cough. At first it was just a little hack, but soon it turned into a gasp in and a choke out. Cancer got him when I was 10 years and 10 days. Off I went to another foster home. In less than 6 months, my new dads, Charles and Charlie, died in a car accident. But when my new mom died of a stroke at 27, I knew something was wrong with me. I relocated again and went to see a priest. I sat in one of those boxes. What would you like to confess, my child? Father, I think I'm possessed by the devil. A lot of people around me have gone to heaven. My mom, my dad, the Charleses, the old couple, even Lucky and Spot. I'm not very good at math, but this many deaths seems very improbable. How am I supposed to live if everyone around me goes to heaven, Father? Father? I sat in a pew and pretended not to know what was going on. I would have gotten away with it if the ambulance hadn't backed into my new foster parents' car and caused that horrible explosion. The next guy I lived with is still alive. He worked in a warehouse and was terribly fond of marijuana, smoked it on a daily. I'm not sure how he was legally entitled to adopt, but I think he got someone off Gumtree.com to be his de facto partner during interviews. Damo and I barely had anything to do with each other. All things considered, he was a reasonable parent. He got me through school and into my own apartment. I moved in with 2 nerds I met playing World of Warcraft. I was the only one that survived the fire. By the time I was living on my own and working from home as a programmer, I was over it. What the hell was wrong with me? What evil spirit did I piss off to become the town death magnet? At 19, I decided to kill myself. I nailed a sturdy hook into a rafter, slung a rope over it, looked up how to make a noose on the internet. I slid it over my neck, closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and kicked the chair out from under me. There was a god-awful crack and the rafter came swinging down off the roof, into the fishbowl, sending Bowser Jr. out the window. Screw this, I said, and leapt out after him. I fell 4 stories and onto a little old lady. Poor Miss Bellevue. I staggered into the road and the car that swerved to miss me finished the old dear off. My guilt at being the only one capable of surviving for more than 5 minutes tripled after that, and I did everything I could to end myself. Did you know if you put a gun against your head and pull the trigger, you could still hit the wrong person? I jumped off a cliff, but a gust of wind blew me into a tree growing out the rock face. The helicopter that came to rescue me? I tried to drown myself, but ended up with a box jellyfish in my mouth. The guy that did CPR got stung and asphyxiated. I tried exposure and explosives and electrocution, and the only thing I succeeded in doing was becoming the first person in the country to be blacklisted by emergency services. I gave up on offing myself after that. Decided if I couldn't have a meaningful relationship or own a pet, maybe I could grow some flowers. I turned my unused garage space into a greenhouse and bought a stack of vibrant, healthy plants. I watered them every day, but one by one they wilted and died. I bought some more and watered them once, but they wilted too. I tried everything I could, 100 different species, but nothing lasted for more than a fortnight. Not even the succulents. Succulents! I stole a rose bush from my neighbour's garden and planted it in the front yard. The strata manager was fuming when he knocked on my door, but fortunately he was on life support before he could speak to my real estate agent. I read horticulture magazines and did everything I could. I tried water, food, sunlight, shade. I read one Stephen King and played one Mozart, but nothing worked. Soon the mail stopped coming. They were running out of postmen. One day I came downstairs and saw something miraculous. There was a bud, a sprout of green from one of the hundreds of empty pots. I was overjoyed. I posted about it on the pot plant forums. After a week, I took a photo and sent it to my friend, FloraFan8. FloraFan8 told me it was marijuana. Marijuana? Those damn teenagers! But wait. Damo was a pothead, and my dad was a drug addict. I got into contact with some stoner kids from high school and we hung out. They didn't die. Ecstasy. You know what I mean. Finally, I could have a normal life. I could have a very slow, perpetually hungry cat. Someone to say, "Honey, I'm home," and break brainwaves with. It seemed a little unfair that the only thing capable of surviving around me was going to end me in prison. Why couldn't it be sunflowers? No one gets 3 to 6 months for growing sunflowers. Anyway, I decided the best thing to do would be to move somewhere where marijuana wasn't illegal. So I saved my money and bought a one-way ticket to Amsterdam. It was a good idea. I just should have put more thought into it. I was the only one that survived the crash. I caught the attention of someone in national security after that. Unbreakable Sam, he called me. You reckon you've tried to kill yourself a dozen times and haven't succeeded. You ever thought of joining the army? That's how I ended up here. In Afghanistan, in the Special Forces. In the only regiment, encouraged to get high while on duty. They call us the flowers on account of all the bud. All I have to do is walk through the desert and watch rifles misfiring or bombs randomly going off in nearby caves. I've been captured 4 times, but I always get out within a day or 2. Not everyone gets dealt a winning hand. All things considered, I can't complain. I may not be destined for happiness, but at least I'm useful. That's cool. Useful works for me. It's not like I'm dying to be happy.
Tell me what you wanna be. Float your mind and listen to the bass. Rockin' to the lyrics.
All right. That was the show for this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a few final things. So I'm going to open up the voting in a few seconds. And what you can do if you're watching this live, you just need to refresh the screen as soon as the broadcast is over, and then you will see a link in the description. If you're not watching it live, it should already be there. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. That helps us reach more people. Drop a comment as well. Our performers will definitely see those. So if you like what you saw, then feel free to share. All right, I'm sticking the voting form in now. That should be live any second now. So just a reminder, you vote for exactly 2 of your 2 favorite performers. You can't vote for 1, you can't vote for more. You can't vote more than once either. We have disqualified voters who are trying to do that, so please don't. Play nice, and that would be much appreciated. If you enjoyed World Monologue Games, feel free to leave us a donation. That really helps us. The event does lose money, and this just helps us continue to operate into the future. There's a link in the description again. If you're interested in seeing the results, the judges and audience favorites from Endurance Earth tonight, Endurance Europe earlier this evening, or whatever time it is, and yesterday, Endurance Australia and New Zealand, those results are going to be announced this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I will make sure there's a link in the video description if there isn't already one. Or subscribe to the channel or jump onto our mailing list, monologues.com.au/WMG. Look, I think that's all from me. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. And next week we have the professional category. The week after that we have the youth performers. Next week going to be amazing. The youth are going to be amazing. They're all really strong performers, and 1 to 2.5 minute duration. Hope to see you there, or at the results, or sometime soon. See you later.